Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Heart and Health Wellness. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Welch, and I'm really glad that you're here today. This episode is for anyone who is currently sick, just getting over being sick, or who finds themselves caring for a sick child while also trying to hold everything else together. And honestly, this is especially for parents because when one person in the house gets sick, it usually doesn't stop there. And if you've ever found yourself thinking, I'm sick, but I still have to function, this episode is for you. And if you can tell by my voice, I'm also feeling a little under the weather today, which is part of the reason I had the motivation or inspiration to talk about this today. I want to talk about how to take care of your biopsychosocial and spiritual health when illness shows up, especially when it shows up at the worst possible time, like right now, which is right before the holidays, and we have travel coming up and work deadlines and all the things. The expectations are high, and it already feels like rest is inconvenient or irresponsible because there is so much that needs to be done. And like I said, today, this is a very personal topic for me. When Cameron was little and he first started daycare, I went back to work right around 3 months. And when he first started daycare, he got sick constantly. It was all the time. It felt like poor baby just constantly would get better and then get sick again. And when he got sick, I'd usually have to miss work to take care of him. My job was usually more flexible than my husband's job was. And so I inevitably would stay home with him, and then I'd usually get sick too. And sometimes my husband would too. And so we were just all not feeling great. And it felt like this endless cycle. And now that he's about 2.5, he's actually turning 2.5 at the end of this month. His immune system is stronger, thank goodness, but sickness still finds its way through our house sometimes. And last week on Friday, when he came home, I could tell the nose was getting runny and he just wasn't himself Saturday morning. And he brought home a cold, sure enough. And then he passed it along to both me and my husband. Thankfully, though, when they are that little, they bounce back super fast. And it is incredible how much energy they have even when they are sick. I wish I felt that way when I was sick, but I'm kind of puny. Anyways, thankfully he bounced back first. And so this morning, it's Monday morning, I was able to take him to daycare and work from home today while I've been able to try and recover. But even then, I felt torn today between resting so I could heal and then trying to do just enough laundry and cleaning and basic life tasks and work without completely overdoing it. And if I'm being completely honest, there's also some guilt there about sending him to daycare, even though he seems totally better and hasn't had any fever. There's still guilt about worrying if that's too soon to send him back, and guilt about not doing more while I'm home because I have all of these things on my to-do list that I want to take care of. And so I have this guilt about slowing down when the holidays are coming anyways, because I want the house to look a certain way and I want the presents to be ready and wrapped and travel plans to be set. And there's still so much to do. So really trying to battle not guilt tripping myself too much here. So today I want to just normalize that experience and help you care for your whole person health without the guilt or shame that tends to show up when illness comes around. So first, let's talk about why getting sick feels so much harder as a parent. Like I said, little ones just seem to be able to bounce back faster. They have more energy even when they don't feel well. And you can see it in their eyes. You know they don't feel good, but they still have so much energy. But when you get sick as a parent, it's not just about your body feeling bad because you're still a caregiver. You still have a career and a profession that you have to take care of. You are still a partner or a spouse. You have a household to manage, and there's often an emotional responsibility as the emotional anchor for everyone else too. So even when your body is clearly asking for rest, your brain is still running a full to-do list in the background. And culturally, we don't really do a great job of supporting rest. We really praise pushing through it. We tell each other, you're so strong, you're doing an awesome job, even though you don't feel well. And so we give that praise for doing it anyways. And we praise that productivity, even when someone is clearly unwell. But the truth is that being sick isn't a failure of discipline or planning. It's not like you chose to be sick. It just happens. And even if you've done a good job of taking care of yourself, like you're still going to get sick sometimes. It's absolutely part of being human, especially if you have a child who is in daycare or school. So illness doesn't mean that you're behind. It just means that your body is doing its job and fighting off the thing that doesn't need to be in there. And so I would encourage you to try to stop fighting against that reality. And instead, let's talk about how you can work with it. So first of all, let's start with the biological piece, your physical body. When you're sick, what is it that your body needs? Well, a big one is sleep and rest. And I'm not talking about just sitting on the couch, like actually allowing yourself to take that nap that you would normally push off. Hydration, hydration, hydration. Even if you're normally good about drinking water, today's an even better day to drink even more water or to add some of those electrolyte mixes to make sure that you're really getting what you need in your body to stay hydrated. It's also really important to reduce your output. So not doing too much, letting yourself be still, making sure you are warm. It's also cold outside, even in the Florida Panhandle right now. Last night it got into the mid to low 20s, and it's going to do the same thing tonight. And I think the high today is like 42 or something like that. It's not supposed to get warm. So that just adds to it of getting the cold right now. That's certainly not helping. And simplicity, trying not to stress yourself out even more. When we're stressed, our immune system lowers. So being able to help yourself relax and just take it easy will actually help you get better, will help you physically get better faster. But the thing is, most of us try to do something completely different than that. So we try to keep the house running normally. We try to catch up on things because we're home anyway. And I'm totally guilty of this. So there's zero shame for anybody doing this. I'm just trying to bring attention to it. Good for me and good for you too. We try to push through because resting feels lazy. And it's really important when you are not well to challenge those thoughts and remind yourself that you're not being lazy, you're taking care of yourself. So I want to offer this very simple rule when you're sick to choose one or two non-negotiables for that day and then let the rest go. So that might look like feeding yourself and your family something healthy, taking medication, or doing a load of laundry. And as I'm saying this, it still pains me because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to only do one load of laundry. I'm going to do at least 2 or 3 loads of laundry today, but that's neither here nor there. I'm also recording an episode, but I can do that while sitting. So, that's not too bad. Anyways, everything else is optional. And just remember that rest isn't a reward for finishing the to-do list. It is the treatment that your body needs. And so if you're telling yourself, I'll rest after I get everything done, I just want you to know that that moment usually never comes. And the healing requires you to lower the bar intentionally on purpose. Okay, so the next part, let's talk about your psychological health and letting go of the guilt and the shoulds. So that mental and emotional side is where a lot of the suffering happens. Many parents feel guilty when they send their child to daycare after their illness, wanting to make sure that they're really all better, not wanting to get other children sick, really wanting to make sure that they're making that right decision and timing it correctly. They also want to rest, or they feel guilty when they rest instead of being productive. And they feel that guilt when they can't keep up with their normal routines and they just feel more worn out than normal. But the important thing to reframe is that daycare is part of your support system. And it is times like today that I am so, so thankful for a good daycare, especially one that is close to home. And if your child is well enough to go, like Cameron was today, didn't have fever, he's not, got anything colorful coming out of his face. If your child is well enough to go, sending them isn't neglect. It's absolutely appropriate. You pay for it. They're going to take good care of him. or her, and they're going to get all the socialization and the learning and the routine and structure that they would normally get. So it's a good thing if they're well enough to go. It also allows you the space that you need to heal so you can show up better long term and be a better version of yourself as a parent in the evening when they get home from daycare. And I want to say this very clearly. You do not need to suffer in order to be a good parent. I think sometimes it's helpful to swap a thought, like instead of saying I should be doing more, you could say something like I'm doing what my body is allowing me to do today. Or instead of I'm wasting this day, you could say something like I'm investing in my recovery and my health. It's important for you to remember that guilt does not heal you and shame does not speed up your recovery at all, but compassion does. So you really have to have that compassion and care and patience with yourself in these situations. Okay, for your social health, accepting help or letting things slide. So relationships and support are important all the time. And sometimes we have family who can help, which is really wonderful, but sometimes we don't. And when we don't, it can feel very isolating and overwhelming. So if help is available, definitely practice accepting that without apologizing and just let the other person or family or babysitter, whoever, help you when they're able to, because help isn't a burden. It's just a part of being human. But if it's not available, you have my permission, not that you need it, but you have my permission to let some things stay undone or lower those expectations for connection and performance and choose presence over perfection. So your relationships do not need you at 100% in order to be meaningful. And sometimes showing up looks like resting so that you don't burn out. In fact, I was actually supposed to get lunch with some of my work friends today that work at a different office, and I was really looking forward to it. And then I stayed home instead. And so I had to cancel those plans, which was disappointing because we're going to have to push it off for a while. And so part of me was sad that I had to let that go. And the other part of me realizes that I can't show up to lunch and be my best version of myself. And also, I wouldn't want to show up to lunch and get them sick. So calling that off really is the best option, but it's still, it's sad and disappointing when you have to do that. Okay, and spiritual health. I want you to slow down and practice radical acceptance. Remember that spiritual health is about meaning making and purpose in life, not just necessarily like religion or something like that. So illness often forces us to slow down, whether we want to or not. And instead of fighting it, I'd like to invite you and myself to practice really some radical acceptance of where I'm at today. Let me give you an example of what that sounds like. So this is what this week looks like, and that's okay. Or this is what today looks like, and that's okay. Just saying that to yourself when you're feeling frustrated or disappointed, especially right before the holidays. There's a lot of pressure to push through, to keep going no matter what. But your nervous system needs safety and doesn't need to feel rushed or a sense of urgency. So there's some small grounding practices that you can include even when you're sick. That includes things like drinking warm tea and doing so intentionally. I actually did that this morning. I like hot tea anyways. And then sometimes I'll use it's like Theraflu or something. It's for colds and it's like a hot tea or you can mix it in with hot tea. Anyways, it's just nice to slow down and enjoy it and feels good, makes your body happy and all that. You can sit near a window, did this too, let the sunshine in on me, felt the warm sunshine on my back while I was eating my breakfast. That was really nice. You can always try to take a few deep breaths before transitioning tasks. A little difficult when you can't breathe in and out of your nose, but that's okay. We can do mouth breathing instead, or just very slow nose breathing if it's possible. And then just letting the day be smaller and simpler. Totally okay to do that when you're not feeling well. So you don't need to make meaning out of everything, but you can choose kindness toward yourself in the middle of all the chaos. So just slow it down, be gentle with yourself. It can really be helpful. All right, so let's give you a couple of practical takeaways. If you're sick right now, I want you to hear that you're not behind, that you're not failing, and you're not weak for needing rest. I want you to ask yourself, what does your body need today? What can wait? And what can be good enough? Healing is part of wellness. It is not a detour from it. You are still on track with taking care of you and being the better version of yourself, and allowing yourself this space to rest and get better is part of that wellness journey. And before we wrap up, I wanted to share something else about what's coming next. So I'm going to have one more episode that I will release before the new year. So that last week of December, I will release an episode on that Tuesday. And in that episode, we're going to talk about how you can review your year, not just what went wrong, but also what you accomplished and what you survived and how you thoughtfully set yourself up for success in the new year. And we're also going to talk about reflection without shame and goal setting without the pressure, and how to enter the new year feeling grounded instead of behind and feeling excited about what's to come. I also want to share with you that I'll be starting the 75 Hard Challenge on December 31st. So New Year's Eve is when I'm going to start, not New Year's Day, because you don't need to wait for the new year. You can start this year. If you are not familiar with it, the 75 Hard Challenge is very structured. It's focused on consistency, discipline, and mental resilience. I know it's not for everyone. It would have been really difficult for me to do it when I was still breastfeeding or when I had a fresh little baby. I'm sure there are women who make that happen. I don't know that I could have. It is very intense. You have to do a number of different things each and every day. It demands a lot of you, but it's a really great challenge. I've done it once before back in 2022, and I want to do it again. And I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I can do it. So I'm going to do that. If you have been craving some structure or accountability going into the new year, you are absolutely welcome to join me. And if you'd like some accountability or want to be added to a group chat so that we can all encourage each other, just send me a message and I will make sure that you are included. As always, if this episode was helpful, please consider sharing it with someone who is sick right now or caring for a sick family member. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to leave a nice rating or review. It definitely helps the podcast reach more people who needed it. Oh, also, fun fact, I found out that Spotify kind of gives awards at the end of the year, and Heart and Health Wellness was one of the top shared podcasts of all the podcasts on Spotify for the year. So I thought that was really exciting, and I just wanted to thank y'all for your support in helping to share the podcast out. Alrighty, so thank you so much for being here. That's all I have. Take care of yourself, rest when you need to, and until next time, be well.